Yes, for the last few classes, we have been talking about the particularly infant mortality, neonatal mortality related to preventive medicine, pediatrics, and obstetrics. We have a very important concept today, baby-friendly hospital initiatives. Is a very important topic, particularly both pediatricians as well as gynecologists, because both of them are combined together in this particular aspect. Before going into baby-friendly hospital initiatives, we should have a little bit of history so that we'll have a clear concept about this particular subject. During the Second World War, that's from 1939 to 1945, there was a war, Second World War. British is fighting against Germany. And of course, host of other countries sided on both sides who are friends and who are allies. But the Prime Minister at that time of Britain, Winston Churchill, talked to Mahatma Gandhi and said that we will consider your request of freedom of India, provided you talk to your soldiers and talk to your young people to join in this particular war to help us. So Mahatma Gandhi took it as an opportunity and addressed all the soldiers and also young people, particularly in major cities, to join the military. Accordingly, when Gandhi himself requested people, means nobody, I can say no. So many people joined in army, and people who are already there in army, you see the situation where we are fighting against the British, and a situation was created where the same people to support them in the fighting in the war. Anyway, we fought the war on behalf of British, and British was victorious. As a result, as already promised to grant the freedom to India, they announced the independent freedom of India. With the result, the first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, it was announced in 1947. On the 14th midnight, Jawaharlal Nehru stood in front of the Parliament and proclaimed on the midnight of 14th August, at the stroke of the midnight hour, when the rest of the world sleeps, India awakes. These were the words exactly proclaimed by Mahatma Jawaharlal Nehru. The next day, he made a wonderful speech in the Parliament, which was popularly known as Tryst with Destiny, considered to be one of the greatest orations of the world in the 20th century. of course, we got independence. But at the time of independence, if you see the health situation of the country, it was so horrible. Everywhere there are cases of diarrhea, infection, tuberculosis, and particularly children dying of malnutrition. So there was a lot of poverty. Fortunately, an international non-governmental organization called CARE, Cooperation Assistance Relief for the Widower. It was a non-governmental organization which took interest in protecting the children from malnutrition and supplemented nutrition in many ways. So to some extent, along with India, other developing countries were also benefited by care. We had the first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, ruled about 17 years. And his own daughter was Prime Minister for another 12 years. So to make up, till 1977, they only ruled this country. But unfortunately, there was no much progress in the health of the population, except they were made from planning for India, 5 years planning, etc., planning commission, etc. But as far as the health was concerned, there was not much improvement, even in states, because health was totally a state subject. Nobody took interest in it. And all the states were suffering from poverty and malnutrition. In 1977, when first the Janata government came into power, they introduced the National Rural Health Scheme in 1977. And that was the turning point for our country to extend the at least primary health care services to the villages and interior areas. In addition, we have the slogan of Health for All by 2080 by the World Health Organization. They took up that challenge of Health for All by 2080, particularly in infant mortality, which was very high at that time, somewhere about 145,000 live births. They have taken a target of to reduce at least up to 60 per 1,000 live births. So, of course, things were going on, governments were changing. Of course, by 2000 area also, of course, we could not reach the target. But World Health Assembly has been carefully observing all these developing countries, particularly India. What are the reasons for so much infant mortality? It was almost perplexing them. And then they have gone to the studies and it was brought to the notice that breast milk was not given to the children. The practice of or the art of breast milk for the child was stopped for a long time. The reason being, in villages, there is malnutrition, mothers are malnourished, and they started substituting the breast milk with the buffaloes, she buffalo. And in cities, the women started working some concern, some office. So they were otherwise employed and they could not continue the breastfeeding. And at the same time, there were number of infant feeding formulas that was bombarded to the advertisement with a dabba where there is a chubby child face. And this breast milk, this milk powder will solve the problem of breast milk. If you feed the children with this particular milk, it will be a substitute and the children will be all. So gradually this evil practice spread to the entire country, and everywhere it was only buffalo milk or the infant milk substitutes. So that was the situation where World Health Assembly found that the contents which were mentioned on the tins, milk powder tins, was not up to the standards. They were not keeping up the standards of the milk powders. And so World Health Assembly has raised the standards of all infant feeding formulas and milk powders should meet these particular standards. Otherwise, book cases against them and see that they are removed from the market. So such a strong direction was given by the WHO. Why? Because you see the uniqueness of the breast milk, In the first secretion of breast milk, we call it the colostrum, where it contains immunoglobulin A and immunoglobulin G. These are, we know, they are very much protective from the infections, either gut infections or respiratory infections. And child will avoid and protected by the colostrum. And then if you go in and see the composition of the milk, it's so beautiful. Nature is so beautiful. You have proteins about 1%, fats about 5%, and carbohydrates at 7%. The rest of the thing is other water and other minerals. So this formula is exactly suitable for the child. No infant formula or no animal milk can replace this. For instance, if you say the buffalo milk, the fat content is high. So people used to advise, even doctors, you dilute the milk and give the milk to the child. Then what happens is the strength of fat may be reduced, but the glucose is diluted, carbohydrates are diluted, proteins are diluted, whereby ultimately child faces protein energy malnutrition, kwashiorkor, marasmus. And those were the cases at that time. Right today we are not seeing. In those days, way back, when I started the medical college in 1977, actually, our pediatrics ward postings, where the entire pediatric ward was studded with only protein energy malnutrition. We have seen kwashiorkor, we have seen marasmus. I cannot see such case today anywhere, except some degree of malnutrition. So these are the unique qualities of the breast milk, which forgotten by both the medical fraternity and also general public. So the World Health Assembly, or the WHO and member countries and UNICEF, to see that all the this milk formulas should be standardized and should be curtailed, and the advice regarding the advantages of breast milk shall be imparted to the mother in such a way that, because mother is the one who has to get convinced by this idea, and she must be ready to give the breast milk. Number one. Number two, all the health staff should be well versed with the contents of the breast milk and the uniqueness of the breast milk, and then they shall be in a position to teach the paramedical staff and also mothers. So, in this context, wherever the nursing homes or hospitals, maternity services and deliveries are conducted, such hospitals shall be named as baby-friendly hospital initiatives. So, in that context, it has come into existence. Now, India, of course, immediately taken this idea, reacted to it, and now was the first country to promulgate the Infant Milk Feeding Act 1992. Infant milk substitutes, IMS, infant milk substitutes, 1992. It was again, of course, amended in 2003, but it became so popular that this particular subject was kept under the control of drug controller, and then that Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, where every health officer has the right to lift the sample of that particular tub of powder milk and send it for examination, whether all the contents are as mentioned on the on the tin, which is mentioned on the tin, are conforming to the standards or not. If they are not conforming to the standards, there are heavy fines and also imprisonment. So in 92, that act was promulgated, and then it was again amended. Finally, beautiful guidelines were given for breastfeeding practices and various operational guidelines. Our country, first of all, promulgated the act, kept under the custody of the authorities which have got which have the authority of examining the infant feeding bottles, milk powders, and punish them. And number two, clearly given guidelines for appropriate infant feeding practices, and also the operation guidelines. So, at this juncture, we shall see one by one what are the infant feeding practices. So, individual countries, first of all, in India, the reasons for child and infant deaths, mainly two reasons. Number one, infections. Number two, malnutrition. We know by 1977 we had this expanded program of immunization, and we got the 6 killer diseases. We got immunization, through which we were able to control the infections. But as far as the nutrition is concerned, there was no proper policies for the breast milk. So, as per the Act, this breast milk feeding practices, we have breast milk, we have semi-solid and weaning practices where introduction of semi-solids and solid foods to the infant. And then what are the operation guidelines already existing in the country through which we can implement these practices? So this, first of all, for any public health specialist or dealing with infant nutrition feeding, should have clear-cut guidelines. Otherwise, in the mind, clear-cut idea. Otherwise, it will not be possible. So, first of all, we see the breast milk. You must be able to convince the mother about the breast milk, starting from the colostrum. Whatever the wrong ideas they have, that this is not easily be digestible by the child, and so it has to be discarded. Number two, as far as the colostrum is concerned, the child should be put to rest within just an hour after birth. So this must be understood by the mother. Number two, as far as the breast milk is concerned, the child can thrive up to 6 months. Up to 6 months without any substitution. If the mother can breastfeed the child continuously for a period of 6 months, even drinking water is not necessary, because the contamination everywhere. Even this drinking water is also will not be given. Only breast milk child can survive. So this is the practice of exclusive breastfeeding of the child. So if mother is to continue such a long period only on the breast milk with the child, she herself must have a good health, in the sense that she should eat nutritious food, and then things like which contain iron, proteins, etc. So every day she should consume additional quantities of food in the shape of green leafy vegetables, in the shape of pulses, so etc., which are even fruits to improve the vitamin content, etc. So mother has to raise up to the occasion. She must thoroughly understand that unless and until she herself be kept in good health and be able to produce energy not only for herself but also to the child, so she must practice good feeding habits. So if these things are thoroughly understood by the mother, then definitely she will be able to follow all these things and then breastfeed the child. Now, the other question is, when to start this weaning foods? Weaning means some people think that stopping the breast milk. That's a wrong concept. There's nothing to feel shy about this. Even some of the doctors and then students have the knowledge that weaning means taking away child from the breastfeeding. is not taking away the child from breastfeeding. While continuing the breastfeeding, even after 6 months, you must introduce the semi-solids first. Semi-solids first. What are the semi-solids? And again, you should not go for the infant milk foods, which are being advertised with entrepreneurs on milk dabba. It's not that. Whatever we are eating in our house, you see, we take dal, we take green leafy vegetables, we take some oils like ghee, etc. So these foods only will rise. These things will be sufficient for the child. There is no need for purchasing any additional foods, mind you. And these foods shall be mashed in the sense, thoroughly cooked, and then with some sort of spoon or some sort of kitchen equipment, you make them, grind them into fine paste, and it is semi-solid. If you put to taste to the child, in the beginning he will not accept. Because it is something all up together, it is a different thing. He will throw it. Then again, mother should try again, till the child gets the taste. Unless and until this particular food goes onto the tongue, a little bit inside, the taste buds will not be exposed, and so the child will not relish the taste of the food. But once the child relishes the taste of the food, we slowly start taking it. So first, we have to introduce the semi-solids, particularly from the 6 months. 6th month, we have to introduce semi-solids. And slowly over a period of time, the child should be habituated at least 2 spoons of semi-solid food every day, starting from 6th month to 7th month, 8th month, 9th month. So gradually, mother will be knowing about this particular particular requirement for the child. So she will be slowly increasing the quantity of this particular semi-solid. You will be surprised to know that the child, when attains the age of 1 year, he needs 1000 kilocalories of energy. You know, a sedentary adult needs about 2400 kilocalories, where the child at 1 year needs 1000 kilocalories. There is half of the adult, because child has a lot of activity. He will have brisk movements, and then playing, running, like that. There's a lot of activity, so he consumes that energy, and that amount is required. And at the age of 1 year, I think almost whatever the adult are taking in the house shall also be offered to the child. Then here afterwards, he shall be counted as one of the family members, none other than one of the family members. And start giving him solids, not semi-solids. Solids, he will be able to chew. So, what are the food we have? That would slowly we should introduce to the child. But remember, the breast milk should be continued. It shall not be stopped. Anyway, even child abstains, reaches for 1 year. Does it mean that second year we have to stop? No. You should continue. Even in second year also, you should continue. That is the breast milk policy. That's the policy of breast milk. Where the child shall be provided breast milk, even though the solids are introduced, as long as possible. Because another unique quality of the breast milk is it works like lactobacillus in the gut. The child will be able to digest the food in a proper way. And I don't know, it was in the textbook. Even after the child becomes adult also, he will have a good digestion capacity of the foods. That is not true or false. It's okay. But as far as the present subject is concerned, the child should be continued on breastfeeding. So that is about the solids. We first started with the breast milk and the appropriate feeding practices. We started with the breast milk. And breast milk about the colostrum, first colostrum, and then starting breast milk up to 6 months without any substitutes, only breast milk. And then from 6 months, we have to introduce semi-solids till 9 months or up to 1 year. From up to the age of 1 year, he shall be treated as one of the members of the family, and then he needs about 1,000 kilocalories of energy. And accordingly, with a great caution and spend some time with the child, it is only possible for the mother. So mother should see that the child takes the food. And when to stop the breast milk? As I said, it has to be continued like that. There are no conditions where you should stop the breast milk. Sometimes questions may arise. When the mother herself is sick, how can she feed? So what? There are only certain conditions where mother is consuming anti-cancer drugs. Even HIV positive mothers also can feed child. In some rare situations where the mother herself is taking treatment for cancer and such cancer drugs, and sometimes hypothyroidism, she takes L-toxin, etc. So, should we stop breast milk? No. They can continue breast milk. There's no. Only in case of consuming this anti-cancer drugs, they are problematic. That's a peculiar situation where some of the drugs, they should immediately consult the pediatrician and then get his approval. If he says, okay, you can continue the breastfeeding. If he says there is some problem because these drugs will also secrete in the breast milk, and consuming those medicines where the child is deleterious to the health effect, then you have to stop. And that is a rare situation where you have to have your own plan of feeding the child, which has to be confirmed by the pediatrician. He will make a sheet, a diet sheet. What are the diets to be given to prevent protein energy malnutrition, and how much time they should continue this. And these are all the things which you can have from the pediatrician. Number one. Number two, if the child himself is sick, if the child is sick, all the more he needs more breast milk. Maybe at a time he cannot consume large quantity of breast milk by sucking because of lack of energy in the muscles and other muscles. Sometimes we have to extract the milk, breast milk into a small cup and slowly drop by drop in the mouth of the child. And that should be done frequently. The child can suck the breast just for 1 minute. Give some time, 15 minutes time. Again, you put into the breast. So like that, number of times will be increased. That's all. And there may be some very deleterious conditions in the health where the pediatrician will be able to again advise the child, there is no need for child to be breastfed and he has to be given alternative nutrition supplementation. That will be taken care of by the pediatrician. Otherwise, this breast milk and introduction of semi-solids and solids should be continued. And in a country like this, such a large country with vast extent and millions of population, what are the various operation guidelines? How this particular message will go to every mother, and the benefit will be enjoyed with every child. This is one of the most important part. This shall be taken care of by health department, health administrators, in particular the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, where they have to have coordination with so many other departments like Women and Child Department, Social Welfare Department, Waterworks Department, and in the village again you have sarpanches, you have opinion leaders, self-help groups. So all these people should help. Why? You see, we have child survival and safe motherhood. We have ICDS program. We have urban service, the basic tool. We have these Dwakra groups in the villages. These people may, in addition to this, we have our own ASHA and ANM. These people actually, they will take different type of number of programs, both socio-economic programs, health programs, and other benefits to the poor population. It will be distributed through them. It's a convergence. It's a convergence because at that stage, everybody should know what is happening. What is she? What is he? What is me? What is my word? And what is his word? It's a combined effort of all of them. So these departments are there. So through these departments, we have our own program of this particular nutrition program for children shall be put into practice. So particularly when this baby-friendly hospitals, when we come to that particular subject, what happens is, as far as the government infrastructure is concerned, starting from the sub-center, primary health center, and then district hospital. Particularly in villages, we have of course sub-centers in the Anganwadi centers, primary health center. Deliveries are conducted, and all the staff members are well versed with this breast milk feeding, because there will be a number of programs have been conducted, and every month there will be a sort of continuing medical education program for them, because when a group is meeting at a particular place, everybody will be telling about their own department activities. So by that way, our this breast milk practice also will go to the people. But when it comes to the private nursing homes, private hospitals, even for that reason, if you see the what is that? This big corporate hospitals. Corporate hospital. They think that when mother comes, they will give excellent, very sophisticated, highly skillful services to the mother as well as the child, and there ends the matter. Maybe up to 48 hours they will keep the mother and child. If there are no problems, they discharge the child. They discharge the child and mother, because it is problem for both. If the mother stays more days, they have to pay more money. The financial constraint is there. Number two, even hospital itself is limited beds, and there will be some more patients want to join there. And then that is the time for them to discharge these people. So, how to educate these people? How to, in other words, how to convert these big hospitals and corporate hospitals to baby-friendly initiative, baby-friendly hospitals initiatives. You see, for these things only, government brought up this Act of Registration of all private healthcare establishments. It is a new act which has brought to practice, and the entire act is delegated powers only to the DMHO, because he is the health custodian of the health of the people in the district. The entire act kept only in his jurisdiction. And I have to say that even collector cannot, district magistrate cannot interfere in this because they are highly professional subjects, and government also knows there will be a lot of influences from all the people. See, if you keep members, the village leaders, local leaders, or members of legislative council, these all the people are made as a members in implementation of this particular act. What happens? There will be a lot of influence from the people, and we will not, ultimately the district matron health officer cannot exercise his powers. That's why there is a relief. See, it is only an act. As per the act, DMHO goes when giving permission to the hospital, or sometimes he has the power to inspect at random all the hospitals, nursing homes, and see what is the cleanliness, what is the maintenance of this biomedical waste management, and how much space is available for the patients, how they are disposing of this liquid waste. So all these things are kept under the control of the DMHO. So DMHO is the authority if in a particular hospital where deliveries are conducted, and thus that hospital should be a baby-friendly hospital. They should maintain certain things like, you see, in the government sector, you have a number of people here, whereas in private hospitals, it may not be that big, you see, because they see other cases also, admit other cases. And they may not maintain that number of paramedical personnel, but at least they should identify some people to implement particularly this baby-friendly initiatives. What are they? First of all, they should, the hospital staff must be given some sort of orientation, because they have no orientation about this. They do not know about the breast milk. Generally, they know that breast milk is good, but what is the knowledge they have about the uniqueness of the qualities of the breast milk, and what is the advantage they have if they start motivating the mother to provide the breast milk to the child. There is no constant supervision there. So such things gradually should take place, and the private healthcare establishments also should come forward for this noble cause. It's a noble cause. You see, this is such a wonderful program where we are helping indirectly for alleviation of socioeconomic status by reducing the infant mortality. What do you think about infant mortality? If one child dies, what are the various efforts put in to bring that pregnancy at least for delivery and the delivery of the child, and services provided by the various members of the department. So the private nursing homes should wholeheartedly help us. What we should do is, we should first conduct a preliminary meeting for all the nursing homes where deliveries are taking place. Call all of them, just have a chit chat, PowerPoint presentation. You can motivate the mother from the antenatal checkups itself. In the third trimester, she is very captive about the child birth and also feeding the child. She has so many dreams about its child. So you have to start at that stage first. In the third trimester, yes, you are going to deliver a child. And remember, there is a lot of emotional bond between you and your child. I know you are very happy to breastfeed your child, but the old people or other relatives, elderly people say that the first breast milk is not good, that is yellow and child cannot digest it, and you should express that particular milk and it should be thrown away. And sometimes you put first tulsi water into the mouth because it is holy. And like that, there will be so many stories they will be telling, but don't carry it away by all of them, because there is a lot of research has been done on this particular aspect. And today, we know that there is no substance, no substitute for the breast milk, and the uniqueness of the breast milk is not there in the entire universe. Okay? Scientists may work days together. They cannot find exactly the composition, the formula of the breast milk. It's not possible. It's not possible. You cannot produce immunoglobulins. So these are all the gift of God, gift of nature, and you have to feed the child. There is a method called, soon after the delivery has occurred, we will hand over the baby to you. Keep your baby or your chest in between the breasts. And you will be able to maintain the warmth of the child. And also at the same time, you can slowly try to put your nipple into the mouth of the baby. Slowly it will start sucking. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. There's nothing to feel shy about. You see, I'm surprised to see on a socialist in Toronto, all the breastfeeding mothers collected at a particular point, an open place in a park, and they're breastfeeding the child, just removing the upper garment, buttons, etc. So I happily they are breastfeeding their children. They say that this is not an act to be done secretly. In our community, sometimes you see when people are there, mother goes to a secret place, a corner, and then slowly loosens it and the child to breast. They say, no. It is a natural phenomenon. And nobody should feel anything about it. A beautiful girl is called a damsel as long as she is not married and conceive a child. And when she conceives a child and feeding, giving breastfeeding, she is mother to not only for the child, for entire world. She is a mother. Then if you derive any pleasure in seeing the breasts of her mother, on the same lines, I don't know how some of the people in old pictures, of course, we are all children, we don't have the experience. When you see, they used to form small clubs and then Mahila Mandals, etc. Somebody told them that if you give breast milk, your youth will be disturbed and then you have a shape will be changed. So you should not give breast milk. You should to maintain the temper and etc. Why that they engage some person called Aya and hand over the child to that Aya. And she started feeding the child with infant milk substitutes. Ultimately, the result is, you see, because they are maintaining all hygiene, because they are rich people, maybe child may not die, but the child will survive. Of course, only thing is now and then the child may be fall prey to the lack of hygiene, some infections like diarrhea, pneumonia, etc. May be suffering. But otherwise, the child may survive. But what is the emotional oneness with the mother? That will be missing. So, in the hospital itself, the staff, first time she did for primary, first delivery, she doesn't know how to place the child in her lap and how to bring the child to the nipple for breastfeeding. The health staff should be able to sit in the chair and demonstrate to the mother. We have to keep the child stand position like this, and then see that the child mouth is near to people, and assist the child for the suckling. Don't divert your attention till the child sucks the breast milk. So that training you have to do. And then, of course, there are some immunizations which has to be given. And then because they are private hospitals, the immunizations for number of diseases, about 11 or 12 diseases, free vaccination facilities available in the government. They should offer, they should say this openly to the mother. They have to give this option so that she will decide whether to take the vaccines in this hospital or outside the hospital from the government service. So, all the hospitals where the deliveries are conducted shall be converted into baby-friendly hospitals by taking all these initiatives. Okay, that is what the concept of baby-friendly initiative hospitals. This is a very small topic, but you see the importance of the breast milk. The great secret in this particular subject is a World Health Assembly First of all, it has formed. It is a secret of World Health Assembly. They made a study for a long time and try to understand what happened in the community, why children are dying. Even though we had to win a car and adopt the Health for All by 2000 AD, and the first target was reduced to infant mortality to 60. We are not able to make a dent on this. They have gone into the details and found that the uniqueness of the breast milk to protect the child from all the infections, from all the gut infections, particularly pneumonia, all this child protection, all this, and simultaneously they found that the breast milk was replaced totally by a cultural barrier. The women developed a bad practice of feeding the child with milk substitutes, breast milk substitute, by various entrepreneurs through various advertisements in various media. That was actually misled our population and we could not reach the target. You see, after probably they found this study in 1981. Now there's a lot of improvement in the child health. You see, today we have reduced the neonatal mortality rate, early neonatal mortality rate, late neonatal mortality rate, child mortality rate. Why? Because we knew this trick, we knew this secret now. Breastfeeding is the best feeding for the child. Nowadays, of course, there may not be much hue and cry or sort of advertisement for this particular practice. But way back in 1980s, when we were in government service, everywhere we used to conduct classes about the breast milk, about the advantages of breast milk. Even ladies who are well educated, even civil servants, she is childbearing age, having children. They started providing breast milk to children. What more award do you want? When such big officers considered to be the most powerful women in the society, they were convinced and they were providing breast milk to their children. Why not the other people? So that came into light, and all the mothers now, they have understood it, and now they are providing breast milk. In addition to this, we have arranged dishes in the office itself. If somebody is working in office, you can take the child with her. You can keep the child there, and now and then she can come and give the breast milk, and somebody will be there to entertain the children till the mother completes her routine duty, shift duty. Then she takes the child around. Such facilities are provided. Even mothers was given maternity leave for a long period of 6 months like that. Why for all these? To reduce infant mortality rate, to give importance, to empower the mothers, knowledge about the breast milk, and various facilities provided, to motivate them to go for breastfeeding. I do not feel shy to say that. My mother used to tease me now and then, "Arey, bloody fellow, you squeezed my breast milk till you attained the age of 3 years." Still she will be teasing me now and then. Of course, she passed away. recently. So then, of course, there's a good comment. I enjoyed. She also enjoyed. Other people also enjoyed. And that should be the attitude. That's of the mothers. But commitment for breast milk to their children and make them to survive. Thank you. We will meet in the next class. కదా ఇప్పుడు ఇందులో పెట్టాడు కదా ఇచ్చాడు
మీరు పెట్టారు కదా
నేను పెట్టలేదు వచ్చి మన నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ ఎవరు మరి
మర్చిపో